Good afternoon, all. Cybersecurity is much more than a matter of it. A great quote by Stefan Napo. I'm Anakha from SEC-VAST. With warm greetings, it gives me a great pleasure to extend a warm welcome on behalf of ELECTA, Association of Electronics and Communication Department, and Vidya Academy of Science and Technology Technical Campus Kilimanur for conducting the webinar on cybersecurity and ethical hacking. Let me invite the resource person for this webinar, Ms. Sreenath Sasikumar, founder and CEO, Master. He has been listed in Google Hall of Fame and has been honored with the position of Deputy Commander with Kerala Police Cyber Dome. He is the technical reviewer of 3 books by Pact Publication UK, was the global board member of Mozilla Add-ons Review Committee, was Kerala board member and speaker. He received awards from Chief Ministry of Kerala, Sri Pinarayi Vijayan, ex-Home Minister Sri Ramesh Chinithala, DP Sri Loknath Behra IPS, and many more. I welcome you. I also welcome our beloved Niduraj HD, Department of Electronics and Communication, WAS TC, for her continuous support. Otherwise, not possible to conduct a webinar like this. I welcome you, ma'am. Also, I welcome Ms. Rijita SG, Assistant Professor, Department of EC, WAS TC, who mentored and guided as a staff coordinator of this webinar. I welcome you, ma'am. Also, I welcome all faculty members and students from all colleges who came here on such a short time notice. To give a brief introduction about this section, I am inviting Dr. Nidaj R. HOD Department EC was TC. Madam, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Anaka. Good afternoon, all. On behalf of Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, Vidya Academy of Science and Technology Technical Campus, I would like to welcome you all to this inter-college webinar on cybersecurity and ethical hacking. It's really a great moment for us to have Mr. Sreenath Sasikumar, CEO Mashup Stack, as our keynote speaker. The vision of this webinar is to gain insight on cybersecurity and ethical hacking, two of the most booming careers in the tech industry. The keynote speaker with us today has vast experience on this field, and definitely this session is going to be a fruitful one. Once again, I welcome you all to this webinar. Handing the session to our keynote speaker, Mr. Sreenath Sasikumar. Thank you all. Over to you, sir. Sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Just a second, let me just share my screen. Just give me a moment. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, just give me a moment. Let me just share my screen.
Okay, sir.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Let me just make it full screen. 1 second. It seems to be a problem. Give me a minute. Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay, just a second.
Yes.
Right. You should be able to see my screen now, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay. So a very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you a lot for coming and attending this session in this afternoon. You all have had your lunch and you should be, either asleep or doing something else, but you took your time to attend this session. So thank you so much from my side. My name is Sreenath, and I'm the founder and CEO of Mashup Stack. This is 1 second. That's a problem with my Zoom. Just have to move. Okay. Okay, right. So my name is Sreenath Sasikumar. I'm the founder and CEO of Mashup Stack, and today we'll be talking about cybersecurity and ethical hacking. Right. So this is Mashup Stack. This is we are primarily a software development company We deal with software developments, software trainings, and web security consulting. These are the three things that we do. Trainings basically in the area of web development, full stack web development, and software testing. That's what we primarily do. So who am I? A little while ago, they had given me introduction. My name is Sreenath. As I told you, I'm the founder of Mashup Stack. I'm also a deputy commander with Kerala Police Cyberdome, and I was awarded by Google. I was recognized by Google for finding a security bug in their website, and my name is there in the Google Hall of Fame. I've also received awards from Chief Minister Sri Pinarayi Vijayan sir, ex-Home Minister Sri Ramesh Chennitthala sir, and DGP Sri Loknath Behra sir. I'm also the board member of ELECTA-ECE-VAST Kerala chapter. Not sure if how many of you know about ELECTA-ECE-VAST. ELECTA-ECE-VAST is it's sort of a open source community of people all around the world where open source related stuff are discussed pertaining to security. So I'm the board member of the Kerala chapter of ELECTA-ECE-VAST. I'm also a developer of Mozilla add-ons. I've created 8 Mozilla add-ons. One of them was one of the best in 2013. I was a member of the review board of Global Mozilla Add-ons Committee. I also created with one of my friends, together with him, we created the world's first hacking browser called PenQ. And I'm also a technical reviewer of 3 books in Packet Publications, Birmingham, UK. So that's a little bit details of who I am. And why should you listen to this talk? Because this talk will, cover security essentials of a lot of, different things. My students have already hacked into Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, Amazon, Zoho, Twitter, Facebook, etc., etc. They are also, some of them are listed as world's top 50 hackers and ranked in the worldwide hacking competitions with rank 2. So this talk will cover different aspects of those particular things about web security. So it would be very helpful for you if you listen to this talk. Okay. So coming to the presentation. As you know, there are different companies out there. There are large companies, there are small companies, there are startup companies, there are medium-sized companies. So all of these companies, they're involved in a lot of stuff. They're focused on different areas. They are focused on creating the product, how to create the product, what features has to be included, what bug fixes has to go, different features, the customers which they have to acquire, how to get more people into their, system, the social media stuff, promotions, how to reach more people, the partnerships, sales related stuff, growing, funding, recruitments, taxation. So there are different aspects a company should be aware of, but almost always there's a very important part that is forgotten. That is the internet security part. So most companies doesn't pay attention to the internet security, right? So Warren Buffett once said it takes 20 years to build a reputation. I hope you know who Warren Buffett is. So it takes 20 years to build a reputation, but it takes only 5 minutes to ruin it. That's right? Think about it. You have a lot of friends and you go talk to them. So over a period of time, you would have built a good reputation among all of your friends. They would like you a lot. They'll be, you'll be a very good person to all of them. But then suddenly they come and ask you something and you are unable to help them, or you tell them, no, it is not possible. But then one single thing, or even sometimes a one single blemish is enough to create a very bad impression among all of them. So similarly, it takes a very long time to build a reputation, but then to ruin it, it takes only a very small time. And that is exactly the case with the internet security as well. So all the companies which are out there, if they get hacked, it starts affecting their recognition, their credibility. So that's very bad for the company in the reputation wise, business wise also. So this slide which I show you, this is a list of different companies which were hacked in some years ago. I took this because it neatly represents the all the companies which were hacked. So take a look at these companies. There are some very well-known companies like eBay, Evernote, Adobe, British Airways. Then there is Uber, Slack, Mozilla, New York Times. So Ubuntu. So these are all different companies. There are some of them are very large companies. Some of them are very small companies. Some of them like Slack and all. They are like startups which had an extensive, which has a tremendous growth. So it doesn't matter whether you are a heavily funded company. It doesn't matter whether you are a large company, an enterprise, or a small company. All of these companies are susceptible to hacks. That is a point in this particular slide. Okay, so what we will discuss today is basically a case study. So rather than boring you with a detailed technical stuff, what we'll do is we'll talk about a case study which actually happened some time ago. So you might have known, you might have heard about Ghana.com, right? A lot of you might be using it also. So what happened is, to those people who are not aware of what Ghana is, Ghana.com is a website where you can come and play your music. So there are different languages, there are different films by genre, by artist. So you can play recently released, all the different kinds of music. You can play and repeatedly hear them. So that is what Ghana.com is. It's more like Amazon Music, right? So what happened is, one day the site was down. It was down for maintenance, and normally these kind of pages shows up very seldom in companies, right? So when does a site show this kind of maintenance page? It happens when there are two things. First thing, when they have a new feature which has to roll out. So let's say, for example, Ghana.com has some different new features which they have to release. What they'll do is they'll take the site down, they put in the new features, and then the site will come back up. Or they'll have, the second situation is when they have a bug fixes which has to go out. So let's say there are different bugs which has to be fixed. So the developers will fix all those bugs, the testers will test them, and then they'll take all of them together, and as a batch that they will be rolling it into the live servers. So when there's a release, when there's a production roll, that is when you put this kind of a maintenance page. But what happened is, that day, that particular day, this page was staying there for a very long time. What was the reason? The reason was, there was a hacker called MacMan. So MacMan had hacked into Ghana.com, and he took 10 million users worth data. And then he publicly posted it in Facebook and Twitter. You can see here there's an image. So this particular image shows the details of a person. So for example, let's say if you were a person who had logged into Ghana.com with your email and password, your email and password would have already been leaked out, and he has publicly posted it online. So people started knowing about this, right? So what did happen there? See, this number you see over here, it is called as a hash. I don't know if how many of you know what hashes. A hash is a 32-digit long string. So let me put it this way. So imagine, how do you log into a system? So normally when you come to a page, you will have an email, and then you will have a password. So during the login process, you're checking whether the email and the password that you entered in the browser matches the email and the password which is present in the database. That's what normally you would check. But then the problem with this kind of approach is, if the database gets hacked, all the passwords are leaked out, which is not good, because chances are most of the customers will be using the same password for all of their applications. They'll have the same password for their Gmail, their LIC policies, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, GitHub, everywhere. And so if one account is lost, all the accounts are lost. They're all compromised. That is not a very good process. To avoid this situation, what developers normally do is they don't store the password. So instead of storing the password, what they'll do is they'll take the password. For example, your password is, let's say, hello. So the developers will take that particular password, and they'll convert it into a MD5 hash. So this hash is a 32-digit long string. So the peculiarity of hash is, let's say you're taking a single alphabet called A, and you hash it, you will get 32-digit long string. If you take a sentence and then you hash it, again, you will get a 32-digit long string. If you take all the sentences of a 200-page textbook and you hash that, again, you will get a 32-digit long string. So the point is, if a hacker comes and hacks the database and gets the string, get the MD5 string, the hacker is unable to understand, he's unable to predict whether this was a small password or this was a large password, whether it was a small password or whether it was a long password, right? Because all of them are 32-digit long strings. So this is how the database password field will look like. There are different 32-digit long hashes. Now what happened is, this person called MacMan, he came here and then he went to a site and he decrypted this. So the question is, how is it possible to decrypt hashes? Because hashes are one-way, irreversible, functions. So let's say, for example, you take a word called apple and then you hash it. So once you get the hash, there is no way of getting back what the word was, because it is an irreversible process. It is not like encryption. It is not like encoding. You cannot get back the original word, but still the hacker was able to find it out. So for that purpose, there are different websites available over there. So what these kind of websites do is they'll start comparing stuff. So for example, let's say you have 100 million words with you. For example, apple, orange, apple 123, orange 123, A, B, C, D, etc., etc. You make a very, very, very large list, and you would start hashing all of them. And then you will make a large list where you have all these words and all the hashes. So when the hacker goes and hacks our database and he comes back with the database in hand, he'll start comparing each of these hashes with the hashes he has in his list. And then if something matches, then he knows, okay, so this is the password. So this is why we normally say you shouldn't put a very common password as your, password for any of your accounts. So what this Macman, this person did is he went there, he created a system where he can dehash all of these passwords, and he got all the passwords, especially the admin password. And then he logged in to the admin panel as admin. So this screen, what you see here, this is the login page. This is the login page of the administrator. So think about it. If he logs in as an administrator, he has complete access over the application. He can do whatever he wants. He can add a song, he can delete a song, he can edit a song, he can change whatever things he needs. He can change users, add users, delete users. He can create havoc in the system, right? That's very bad for the company. He can even sing a song and say it is sing by Yeshudas and put it there. He can whatever he can think of, he can do, because he has direct access to the admin panel now. So this is a very, very, very grave situation. He did not stop there. So what did he do? He started, he created a page online. So this green screen, this dark screen with the green table over there, this is a page which he created online, and he posted a link to a searchable database of 10 million users. So see, what happens is, let's say there are 10 million users in Ghana.com who were hacked. Now, there might be a person called, I don't know, some name, Arun. So if you go to that page and search Arun, you will get the details of Arun. So you will get the password, his other details, hashes, and when he logged in, his user ID, his all the details, what is there in the database, that will be shown to the user. So now you can start going there and searching for different people. That is also very bad. See, that's very bad for the company. Did he stop there? No, he did not stop there. So what more did he do? He went he went ahead and posted a screenshot of the SQL exploit he used. So to explain what is SQL exploit, let me just uh, give me a second. I'll just because I think a lot of you are you're not computer science students, you're mostly from electronics background. That's what I presume. So I'll show you something so that you understand what is SQL. Just give me a moment while I fire up my database. 1 second. Okay. Can you see this? Can you see my browser? Hello? Hello? Can
Sir.
someone just acknowledge? Can you see my browser?
Yes, yes,
Okay. So what I'm doing here is
sir.
I'm taking my PHP my admin. This is So this thing you see here, see this left side I have scrolled. This is I have forward. This is e-commerce, Flipkart, etc. All of this Laravel, Mashup Library, PHP my admin, security. So all of this, these are all the databases, right? So for example, let's take the security. So I click on security, and then it shows me, see over here, users. They are tables. So think of it this way: your database means your table means an Excel sheet. Okay, so your database means lots and lots of Excel sheets. So that's where you store your data. So if I click open the users, I said users means table. Table is equal to Excel sheet. See this? This is the details of the people, right? So this is the SQL. Now, what normally happens is if you have an SQL, you type something over there. Let's say you have a login page. You type your email and your password over there. The system will go to the database, fetch data from there, and show things to you. But see over here, I told something called exploit. So what happens is in the case of SQL exploit, what a person would do is he would type. Let me show you. Uh, okay, just a second. See, um, 1 second. So over here, what happens is, okay, see this page. Normally, you would type sreenath.sasikumar@gmail.com, and I will type in my password hello123, and I will click submit, and this will go to the database, get the data, and come back to me. Instead, I can give some special strings over here, something like this and all, 1 = 1 and all. So these kind of particular kind of strings, if you give and submit, what happens is it will start confusing the database. So database will be confused, and instead of working properly, it will start printing out all the data which is available over there. So that is called the SQL exploit. So in the earlier case, what the hacker did was he posted a link to a searchable database of 10 million users. So now you have to go and search 10 million times. But when in this particular case, when the hacker posted SQL exploit, all a user has to do is give this exploit, and all of a sudden he'll have 10 million users with him. So that's just run it once, you get the entire data. So this is absolutely dangerous, right? And different hackers will start pouring in, and they'll start using this data. It creates different problems. So think about it. So what can the company do now? All that the company can do now is crisis management. Already a crisis has happened. Somehow they have to come and start, handling the damage, reduce the damage. So the CEO of the company, he came forward and he said, "Don't worry, you're working on a fix." Okay, so they took the site offline. So that is why, see, in the very beginning, I told you. Uh, okay, this page. See, I told you when we went to gun.com, there was a page like this which said, "Okay, we are down for maintenance," and this page was staying there for a very long time, but it was not actually maintenance. So this was the reason, because the site was hacked and they had to take the site offline. And not just that, the CEO came forward and said, "Don't worry, we have created a fix. The issue is all fixed. It's all over. We don't have anything to worry." So he started giving confidence to the customer, saying the vulnerability has been fixed within an hour, and even the hacker, the Macman, has said, "Okay, the issue has been fixed," and he has acknowledged the same, right? But what did the hacker actually say? This is what he actually said. So you read it. "The vulnerable parameter I was using here has been patched by the admin," right? So that issue which he reported was fixed. But the question is, was this the only vulnerable parameter I had? Which means the hacker might be having different vulnerabilities with him, of which one of them was exposed online, which the company fixed. So chances are there might be more such issues in the company, in the website, which has not yet been revealed, right? So when this thing came out, there's nothing the company can do again. So only if they know about it can they fix it, right? So the company CEO came forward and said, "Okay, can you please take down the data, and delete the data completely?" And why would the hacker listen to him? Normally hackers wouldn't listen to them, right? But then the hacker said, "Okay, don't worry, because you requested, I have taken it down, I have deleted all my data, so there's nothing to worry." This is what he said. See, "I hereby confirm that no financial information was accessed." So the hacker has not accessed any sort of financial data. Database was so large that I didn't even bother looking into it, and no information was dumped and stored locally, not even a single row. So the hacker is now saying that I did not save any data from Ghana.com, and I have not accessed any information which is of financial nature from the Ghana.com website. But I don't know. Can you believe him? So anyway, the CEO came forward and said, "Okay, don't worry, customers, there's nothing to worry," because he was a white hat hacker. So that brings up the question, what is a white hat hacker? See, there are different classifications of hackers, basically two of them, one being a white hat hacker, another one being a black hat hacker. So what white hat hacker does is, a white hat hacker's job is to go check a website and in a responsible manner find out bugs and say, "Okay, these are problems and you would need to fix those issues." While a hat hacker, his job would be to create havoc on the system. He is not a nice guy. He comes there, he creates problems in the website, takes the site down, create malicious stuff, deface the websites, etc., etc. Right. So in this case, the CEO said, "Okay, don't worry. This particular Macman is a good hacker. He's a white hat hacker. There's nothing to worry at all." So these are the tweets and the communication which happened between the company CEO and all. And all of a sudden, the news started pouring in everywhere. All the blogs, all the websites, internet, the media, the news channels, they all were picking this. This was a very interesting thing for the companies. I mean, the news companies, and they picked this data and started, writing news about it. And what happened is, you start searching for Ghana.com in the internet. So instead of Ghana details coming in, it was these details which were popping up. So, read about it. So every time you type Ghana.com, it shows up like Ghana has been hacked. Ghana.com 10 billion users compromised. So this is not good. It creates a very bad reputation for the company. It creates, it sort of removes the trust from the customer side. The credibility of the company is at stake, right? So anyway, so why did this happen? So what was the reason why this particular issue happened? The reason was the developers wrote insecure code, which brings up the question, what is insecure code? Normally I would ask you questions in this time, but this being a Zoom call, it's difficult for me to ask the questions. But anyways, okay. I hope you can see my Sublime screen. Okay, let me just type here for you. Let's say I'm asking you to write a small program to add two numbers, right? So I would say, how would you write the program? You would write A is equal to input the first number, B is equal to input the second number, C is equal to A plus B, and then you would print the result, print C. Don't bother the language, it can be any language, just ignore the language. But this would be sort of an algorithm. This would be sort of a pseudo code which you would use to, add two numbers. What do you think? Do you think this code is safe? Um, just for an interaction, can you post your updates in the chat box? What do you think? Or you can even speak out if you can unmute your microphones. What do you think? Is this code safe? Is this code not safe? Why do you think, if you think it is safe, why do you think it is safe? Or if you think the code is not safe, why do you think the code is not safe? Waiting for your answers or someone to speak. I hope you're not sleeping.
It's not safe, sir.
It's not safe. Why is it not safe? This is the easiest way you can write a code, right? A plus B is C. Yeah. Why wouldn't it be safe?
Variables initialize ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല.
Of course, you cannot initialize the variable C. Think about it. Okay. What is your name? What is your name? Hello, the person who answered. So come with the hello. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir, audible.
Okay.
Sir.
So okay, I think he didn't hear me. So anyway, so what happens is, see, input the first name. This will be coming from a form post, right? See, look at this. This is a form, correct? Let me put it this way. First number, okay, and then this is okay. Now you will understand. This is second number, right? Let me put a small br here. Okay. Just a second, let me just show it to you so that you'll understand much more better. Okay, take a look at this. See, look at this. What is this? This is the first number, you would write 77. The second number you would write 98, and then you submit, and then you should see the answer, right? Now, okay, so what happens is this number 77 should be going to here, right? 77, right? That is why I wrote input the first number. So you cannot initialize here. Why? Because the number shows up only when you run the application. Clear, Ayo? Did you understand? So you cannot initialize it. So that might not be answer. Any other options? Any other reason why it is safe, it is not safe? No. Okay. So Okay, so the reason is this is not safe. I'll tell you why. See, I opened this up and I type 77. Okay, this is problem in the code, right? I type password here. Okay. See, I type 88 and I type 99. This will work fine. If I type 9 and if I type 33, it will work fine. But what if I type percentage and I type some exclamation mark? What will be the output? You don't know, because that is not a number. What if I type ww and I type q? This is also not a number. Or what if I type some very large number, very large string, which is, I don't know, 45,000 digits long, and I take two such strings, and again I type the same thing here, and I click submit. You don't know what is going to happen. So the problem is, so what is the problem? You have not validated this. So ideally this should not be the case. It should be like this. See, it should be validate A, validate B, and if validation is correct, right, only then should you add the numbers, right? Else what should you do? Show error, right? So this is how the code should be. So we are missing the validation part. And what is one of the biggest problems which the industry is facing now? See, almost all of you will, some point of time, you will start working in companies, in software companies. They might give you trainings, and then you will be put into a project and you'll start working. And in different stages, when they want you to implement some sort of functionality and you don't know what to do, you'll start Googling. And ideally Google is what helps us to create software programs, Google and Stack Overflow. The problem is, you'll go there, you'll find the code, take it up and put it here and copy paste, see if it's working. If it works, yes, well and good. You really don't bother whether there is validation in the code. So this is a big problem. And the hackers, they are actually waiting for the opportunities, because you're not validating. Almost all the security problems that you see now are because you're not validating. So this is a right code now. This is a very good code because you're validating. So again, it depends on how you're validating it. Okay, so it is only as good as the validation you're doing, correct? So you should be validating for three things: type, size, count. These are the three things. So for example, type. What is type? Let's say, for example, you're adding two numbers, in which case it should be integers, or it should be numbers, it should be decimals, whatever. It should not be a string, because you cannot add two string numbers. Size, for example, let's take the case of I don't know, any place where you're uploading some files. Okay, in this case, what would happen if you upload a 1 GB large file? The site will go down. It happens, right? Similarly, count is also similar. Let's say, for example, you are creating objects within the code depending on a count which is coming from the browser. Again, if you're not validating, it can start creating problems within the system. So you have to validate for three things: type, size, and count. Okay, so coming back to the presentation once again, right? So oops. Okay, so why did this happen? Because the developers wrote insecure code. So what should you do instead? You should educate the developers. The developers should know how to write secure coding. That is important, but that is not, you don't learn it in your college. You don't learn it in your trainings which happen in the companies. You don't even learn it when you start working on projects. So when do you learn it? You learn it when some hacker comes and hacks your application, and all of a sudden your manager is back on your tail and say, go fix it now. And that's when you realize, oh my God, I've got to do it. And then you start Googling here and there. You're in a big frenzy and you don't know what to do. Somehow you end up fixing all these things. But so to avoid all this, it's always good if you start educating developers in the very beginning. Second of all, you should start performing security testing. What is security testing? So you build an application and you're about to give this out to the public or to your customers. So what would you normally do? You would start testing the application. You would test it to see if there are layout problems. The site could be broken here and there. You will test it for your functionality. What if there's a functionality, you click the button and nothing happens? That's very bad. You would test it for the performance. You click something, and if it takes ages to load the particular page, That's very bad from the performance perspective. So you test all that, but you don't test them for security. You don't test the application for security. So ideally, along with educating the developers, we are also supposed to do a security testing on the product, on the software application which you have created. And thirdly, you should set up a proper security policy. What is this proper security policy? Let's say, for example, you're working in a company, you should not bring in hard drive, you should not, plug in your what do you say, pen drives, or you should have a proper password which is strong enough, etc., etc. So such rules which should be enforced within it could be in a company-wide process, it could be in within your project, it could be in any manner, but then you should have a security policy in place, right? So now about understanding web hacking. How can you be hacked? We always hear about things that happen. Okay, that site has been hacked. This site has been hacked. How does the site actually get hacked? Hello? 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 Someone was saying something. I didn't hear. Was it to me?
Nothing, sir. You can continue.
Okay. Right. So the question is, how can you be hacked? So this is how your client server model works. Let me show that in my browser. Just a second. See, if I take a site, let's say, for example, example.com. This is a website, example.com. Okay. So I right click here, I click on inspect element, and here I go to network panel. See this network panel? So over here, I click here and click enter again. What happens? See this, there are two requests. So these are the two requests which are going to the server and coming back. Okay. So I click this and I see, okay, these are the details which were sent, and this is a response which I got, right? So you're sending details to there, you're getting the response back from the server. So these are the things. So this is only two requests because it's a very, very small site. Ideally, this is not the case. Let's say if you take mashupstack.com, for example, I click on inspect element, I click network panel. Okay. So just see this, I click enter, see how many requests are going. That's a lot of requests, right? Okay, just a second, let me move this. It shows 45 requests. That's also not correct. Let me just remove the cache and try again. See. Okay, 45 requests. See, the left bottom corner shows 45 requests are sent, right? So if you click it, 1 second, I'll just move my zoom to a corner. Okay, if you click the particular request, see this, it shows what I am sending and the response which I'm getting back, right? So this is a request and this is the response. So coming back to the presentation, this is the browser which I was showing you, right? This is the browser which I was showing you, and to the right there's a server. So you send a request from the client browser to the server, server get the details, brings back the response, and both of these things you can see within your browser. Within your computer, you will have your operating system. You have your Windows, you have your Linux, you have your Macintosh. It doesn't matter which OS. You will have some OS. Your OS could have problems. So that way you can be hacked. Or your OS will have browsers in them. It can be Firefox, Edge, Safari, Opera, Brave, so I don't know, Chrome. It can be any browser. Again, it can be 32-bit, it can be 64-bit. Again, it can be of different versions. All of these are different, and each of them can have security problems, and they are also susceptible to hacking. The next thing is the network sniffing. So let's say, for example, when data travels from your browser to the server, a hacker can come in between and take the data. How is it possible? So let's say, for example, you have a router somewhere, your router. Okay. Now you're connecting to the router through your cable. So when you type google.com, I don't know, when you type example.com, the data will flow from your computer to the router through that cable, and from there it will go to Asianet or Idea or Airtel, wherever. From there it will go to America, get the server, get the details, come back. A hacker can come and connect to the router and see what's happening. If the page is not HTTPS, he can get all the details. That is called as network sniffing, right? So that is also a possible form of hacking. So this is what happens normally when you go to open Wi-Fi. You go somewhere and you see there's an open Wi-Fi. What do you say? oh my God, this is so cool. Open Wi-Fi, and you call out your friends, you message, you WhatsApp them saying, okay, come on, there's open Wi-Fi, let's drain it out. But what you don't realize is you might have a friend sitting somewhere. You might have not a friend. You might have someone sitting over there on a laptop or maybe a mobile phone in his hand, playing around. But what he might be doing is he might be looking at what you're chatting. He might be looking at what you're doing, which sites you're surfing, what are you sending across. All data is accessible to him as long as it's not HTTPS. So that is called as network sniffing. And then on the server side, on the right side, you can see the server, right? On the server side, you could have problems with almost all the softwares. It can be a server like Apache, IIS, Nginx, Node.js, whatever, Glassfish. It could be your databases like MySQL, SQL Server, SQLite, Postgres, Redis, Cassandra, Hadoop, whatever. It can be a language like PHP, Python, Java, Node, Rust, Ruby, whatever. It could be a database management systems. It can be a queuing systems. It could be mail servers. It could be anything. So the problem is, and again, you could be accessing from your mobile. So your mobile could also have problems. So each of this is a point of concern. So a hacker can attack your mobile. A hacker can attack your operating system. A hacker could attack your browser. A hacker can get the data sniffed when it passes through your network. A hacker can start attacking your servers. So all of these are a point of concern, right? So hacking, you can divide into two types. There's a random hacking, and then there's a targeted hacking. So what is the difference between these two? Random hacking is when you wake up in the morning and say, okay, so what do? You hack, why not we hack a WordPress site today? So that is called as a random hacking. You don't have any aim, you don't have any target. But in a targeted hacking, that's not the case. In this case, target hacking, a hacker knows, so this is the site I will be hacking. Say, for example, you are doing a penetration testing or you are doing a security audit. So a company calls you and say, okay, you have to start testing this particular website of mine and tell me if there are any bugs. So that is a targeted hacking because you have to somehow get into that site, right? So what do? There's a typical workflow which happens for that. You could compare that with a robber. See, a robber, a normal robber. I'm not talking about the large robber, okay? Hi-fi robbers and all. I'm talking about local chota mota robbers and all. So normally what they do is they would come and scan the house, right? They'll check for any flaws, other windows, other doors, other I don't know, any possibility of breaking in. How is the situation? How is the house? Are there any dogs? Are there any walls that are 10 feet high? And then he understands what is happening around there, and then that is when he start understanding, okay, these are the vulnerabilities over there, and then he attacks, correct? Similarly, a hacker, what he does is he tries getting as much information as possible. He comes there and he starts saying, okay, what is the details in the site, what is the server made of, what is the plugins they are using, what is the version of the software they are using, etc., etc. And he makes a list, and then he starts scanning, and then he starts finding the vulnerabilities. With this vulnerability, he starts exploiting the website, right? So that is what I was talking to you about. The site is already fixed in this case, and he starts understanding the technologies, and he'll start running different tools to find out what technology is the server made of. Okay, so this is an example. See, take a look at this. I'll show you this. Wait, let me just take. Okay, 1 second. Okay, were you not seeing my screen till now?
Visible, sir. We were seeing the screen.
You were right. Okay, I thought my slide was not working. Okay. Anyway, can you see the window? My command prompt?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I was talking about a software called Nmap. So I take local host. So this is my, my local server. See what happens. It scans and then it tells me, okay, there is MySQL in 3306, right? So this is used to understand what softwares are running in a particular website, right? You should not run this on a live site. It is not good. Do not do that. This is local environment, my local server in my laptop, just by a RAN. So this helps me understand what this is there, this is there, this is there, this is there. So these all things are running in my machine on this port, this port, this port, this port, etc., etc. Right? So this is an example which I have shown here. So in this particular example, it shows as 20, 21, 25. These are all different ports which are open. The 25 is for sending SMTP. For example, you have, so each of this conveys a very, very, very important piece of information. See, for example, you have 25 port open, it means, okay, server has SMTP server, which means you send, this server is able to send emails, right? So similarly, each of this will have some, information to be provided. So this is called a scanning. And then with these different types of scanning, you start building information about the servers, about the plugins, about the operating systems, what services are running, what are the available versions, etc., etc., etc. Right? And then once you get the vulnerability, let's say, for example, you run these scans and say, okay, this problem exists in a particular website. And then you start going to CV details. CV is the number. Each vulnerability will have a number. You go there, you identify what is the case, what is the issue. Okay, so this is a site where you can see different CVs listed. These are also WordPress. This is for in every website in general, right? This is also another site for WordPress, or different sites where you can go and get this thing. And then you can even find the versions also. Certain times what happens is, see, in this particular line, you see a green sentence over there on the right called leave this for stat. Towards the left of it, towards the center of it, you see WordPress 4.3.1. What is it? That is a version. So this particular software is revealing the version. That should not happen. So there are different ways of finding that, or there are tools available for all of this. So if you get information as much as possible, that's what you do, right? And then based on it, you go to the CV, you get the exploit code. This is called the exploit code. Remember I told you earlier about the SQL exploit. See, I'll go back and show you. If you remember, I told you that this particular person had, see, he had posted a screenshot of the SQL exploit. So this particular exploit, it will look like this actually. See this? It looks something like this. Okay, so what you do, you take this into a particular software. I'm not going to tell the name of the software anyway. So you put it there, you run through 2-3 commands, you press enter key, and that's it. The system is hacked. You're inside, right? So that is how hacking is normally done, right? Not just hacking, even if it is normal security testing, you test for vulnerabilities, right? So this is what I was talking to you about earlier. How can a system be hacked? Because you wrote insecure code. This is the example I just gave you a little while ago about adding 2 numbers and printing the output, because there is no validation which is happening, right? Okay, so I'll show you a little bit of attack scenarios. Just a second. Let me take it. Okay, I hope you can see my, sorry. I hope you can see my page. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
All right, okay. So this is like a small lab which I've created so that it's easy to convey the different scenarios. Okay. I will not be showing everything. I'll show some of them just for demonstration purposes so that you understand what it is. So the first one is called as XSS. What is XSS? See, how does Facebook know you have logged in? You log into the system, and the Facebook will give you a number called a session ID. Okay, that number will be stored in your browser. So every time you call Facebook, this number will automatically go along with the request. That is why Facebook knows it is you, right? So what happens if, let's say, for example, I don't know, the person who talked earlier, Arun, right? Arun. So Arun is logging into Facebook, and another person called Ajay is able to get the session ID of Arun. And now Ajay is sending the request to Facebook using the session ID of Arun. So what will happen? The Facebook will think it is Arun who is accessing the system, but it is not Arun. It's someone else. His ID was stolen. That is called as cookie stealing, right? Session ID stealing. How that happens is, see, take a look at this. This is a e-commerce website. So over here, if you go and type for shoes, it will say, okay, there are no results for shoes. If you go search for cakes, it will say there are no results for cake. If you type this, okay, what should it say? It should say, sorry, there are no results for script alert hello /script. That is the expected behavior, right? But in reality, what happens is, see, I click it and it shows me a pop-up. So what? It's just a normal pop-up. What's so big about pop-ups? Hundreds of pop-ups show up in your machines every day, right? You just click it like, okay, okay, okay. Is that a big deal? Of course, it is a big deal, because what happened here was, see, before that, let me show you this. See, how many of you know? I don't know if you know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and all. Do you know that? I'll give you a small sample. See, over here, if I come and write H1, welcome to what the presentation paragraph thing. Welcome to the presentation. Okay, and I click open in the browser. It shows welcome to the presentation. This is my HTML, but it doesn't look good. So I'll come and write color red, and then all of a sudden it became color red. So this is CSS, HTML, and CSS. CSS is the part where you style the application. You give them color, you give them, you make it feel good. And then you start writing JavaScript. So here, if you write hello, what happens? See, I'm going to press enter key. See what happens? It shows me a pop-up. This is JavaScript, but this is okay. Why? Because this JavaScript was given by the developer. I am the developer. I coded JavaScript in my code, which is why it showed up. But think about this scenario. Here, I am not the developer. Here, I am the user. So user is giving the JavaScript, and that JavaScript is being executed, which is very, very, very dangerous, right? Because using this, a lot of security issues are possible, right? So this is called as XSS attack. SQL injection is also something very similar, where you have an email ID and a password, or any form field. Normally, you would enter your email ID, you would enter your password, and you will try to log in. But what happens is, here you give something like, see, remember I told you earlier about something like this kind of particular code. You give that, and your entire application will be hacked. This is called as SQL injection. It's an automated injection, which we'll not be discussing now. Another one is a shell attack. What is a shell attack? See, in the case of a shell attack, what you're doing is, you have a pop-up, you have a normal form, and you run a command. Let me show that command in my this thing, command prompt. Just a second. Okay, I hope you can see this. What if I type dir? It gives me different listing of all the pages which are there, all the folders and files which are there, right? But this is my command prompt, which is okay. But here, what I'm going to do is, see, this is my browser, okay, which is a page which I'm opening from my house. The server might actually be in America, maybe, I don't know. It's some server in America whose page I'm accessing. So here, when I write a dir command and click run, what happens? See this directory of C drive, SAMP, see this, and it is giving me all the details of the files in my server. So what is happening? These files will be the files which are there in the American server. This should not happen. This is very dangerous. This is what a shell attack is, right? Next attack is Google hacking, where you can use different. And I'll show you this in a quick manner. You click this and see this. What is this? This is the passwords. SQL dump. The entire database is there. Okay, I'm quickly taking it out. What we just did is, I did a small Google search, and that Google search gave me access to the database of different companies, which means only a single Google search is enough certain times to hack an application, right? So that is what is Google hacking. Next is Shodan. Shodan is like Google. It's a software. It's a search engine for Internet of Things. You are electronic students, a lot of them. You know what it is. So let's say, for example, let's take this thing. See this. This is a CCTV in Hong Kong. See this? This is a CCTV in Hong Kong. So you click this. What happens? You get this. See, look at this IP. IP address is something else. It's not your nation. It's somewhere else. 42. See this? Let's try to find out where is it. geolocation from IP. Okay, let's see if we can get. Let's see. What does it say? It says it is in Hong Kong. See this? It is in Hong Kong. So this is where it is, Hong Kong. So you got a login page for a CCTV in Hong Kong. And there are ways to bypass this also, right? So which is again dangerous. It should not happen actually, right? Next one is Git folder. See this? This is another site. Okay, so this particular site is a confidential site and you do not have access to this particular site. Okay, so what we do here is you take this URL and towards the end you type .git, and all of a sudden you see different things over here. And this is also a problem. See, Apache 2.4, it should not be showing up like this also. So this thing which you see here are the entire code of the project. So there are softwares which are available which can pull this and recreate the code from that. Okay, so that is a Git related problem. The next one is phishing. What is phishing? See this, it looks exactly like a bank, but the URL is different, right? So the real bank would look something like this. This is the real bank. It's a privacy page error. Okay. So anyway, this is, look at the navigation bar and all. So it's all the same. So what's the login page? I can't see the login page. You can't see the login page in here. So there used to be a login page. Anyway, so the phishing is where you create a page which looks exactly like something else, some other actual site, but it is different. So people would come and enter details here, but they will not be entering it in the real site. It's a fake site, and lots of people are falling for this. That is called as a phishing attack, right? The next is broken authentication. What is broken authentication? Broken authentication is where you have a authentication system where you have email and password. You type different things. Again, the system won't let you in. You are trying guessing, you are trying brute forcing, nothing works. And then all of a sudden, by some means, if you can try changing the URL and you get inside. So it happens. This is called as broken authentication, where you're not authenticating the system properly, right? So that is an example of a broken authentication attack. Finally, there's a IDOR attack. IDOR is where this is something which is very common, and very common in a lot of softwares actually. See, look at the URL. What does it say? It says customer ID is equal to 1, which is why it is showing the details of the customer ID 1, right? So let's say it's not customer ID, it's student ID for your easy understanding. Your marks or your profile details, your attendance, your I don't know, whatever things. So what have you changed this to 7, and all of a sudden you see details of the 7th student? It should not happen. Student 1 should not see details of the student 5 or 7. That's horizontal privilege escalation, which should not happen, right? That's one kind of privilege escalation. The second one is admin, where you give admin ID, and now all of a sudden you're seeing the details of the administrator, which is again even a serious concern, because now you're not privilege escalating horizontally. Your privilege escalation happens vertically, because you now have more permission, you have more access and options which are not usually available to a normal customer, because you're now an administrator, right? So these are some of the attacks which commonly which happens in companies. I showed you a sample so that you get a feel of how the attacks really happen. Okay, so coming back to the presentation, right? So yeah, so that's it. So a Cisco CEO once said there are 2 different kinds of companies. One of those companies who have been hacked, and there's another set of companies who don't know that they have been hacked. The point is almost all the companies would have already been hacked, but no, just that they're not aware of it. That was what he said. That's the extent of the magnitude of what happens in the hacking arena. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the talk. Thank you.